I'm Spence Graham with Real Digital Media, a Stratacache company, and also chairman of the board for the Digital Signage Federation. And you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
Hey, Kim Frank here. You are watching and listening to the AV Life.
Hey, James here, the writer for higheredav.com, IT and AV column, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
Howdy from Kansas City. It's Renee Benson. You are listening and watching the AV Life.
Hi, this is Nancy Blanchard, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
I'm Murphy Daly, IT and AV project manager, also author for various AV publications. You're joining us for the AV Life.
And I am your host, Tim Van Wert, at T Van Wert and at the AV Life Pod. And you are watching and listening to the AV Life. All right. Hey, guess what? There's no Joe Way tonight. This is my show. No, it's fine. It's good. We all love Joe Way. I'm just joking. And I'm throwing this out there early. So if he does decide to listen in on this episode, he'll hear the little joke. But welcome everybody. Good evening, crew. How are we all doing tonight?
Good.
Awesome.
Good.
Thanks, Tim.
Good. And as you heard, we have Kim back. Welcome back, Kim.
Thanks, guys.
We
I
missed
missed
you.
you.
I almost forgot what you look like.
Aw.
Well, and our viewers, if you go to the higheredav.com website and you go and look at our YouTube videos, you could see what all of us look like. Some better than others, but we're all out there. So no, we're all good looking.
Enormous head.
So just no extreme close up like Wayne's World, so none of that. Okay, sorry. I'm reading. I shouldn't be reading while I'm doing my intro thing here.
Okay.
But yes, focus. Yes, that's the ADHD talking. I can't. I have no control over that sometimes.
Got some
but,
whiskey in here. Watch out.
Oh yeah, maybe I should just go with my beer, and then we'll be okay. I would like to welcome Aaron Peterson. Hey Aaron, welcome back.
Oh,
Just for those who don't know, just because I usually give the guests a moment, please introduce yourself to our listening audience and watching.
sure. My name is Aaron Peterson. I'm a solutions engineer for an integrator based in Iowa called Mechdyne. You can also find me on Twitter under _ AVAP.
Cool. Well, welcome, Aaron. We're glad to have you. So yeah, I mean, it seems like we're all doing okay tonight. So, and I know, so a little later, we're gonna get into, it's been about a year, and and also as you're listening to this episode, it'll be March 1st. So, and that's actual March 1st of 2021 for those who need the check-in. This isn't March of 2020 365 day. So
Let's hope it comes in like a lion, so it goes out like a lamb, right?
yeah, let's just be done with this. Like I would love April to come in and like just be like totally chill at that point.
We had a lion happening in Texas, just coming in with the weather.
Oh yeah.
you
That
did.
usually refers to. I'm just saying. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that happened.
And then they got 70-degree weather right afterwards. So
Well,
it
that's
was
normal though.
yeah. Well, that is their normal temperature. So it was funny, like seeing friends of mine and family that are in Texas, and they're all bundled up in their heavy coats and all that stuff. And then the next day they're outside drinking at the bar because at least the bar had power. So but we are thankful that all of our
Is that what they call the
AV friends.
hospitals?
Was that
Is that what they call the hospitals?
the hospitals? Yeah.
Bar- bar,
Treatment.
yeah.
Yeah, liquid treatment. So it's
We literally had a post today on our local news. It was 69, and a week ago it was -32. So it was like 101 degrees change.
Swing. Yeah.
oof.
All of your
That's-
plants are dead. Yeah.
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 Your plants are dead.
Crazy.
Yeah, better go throw like the plastic bags over them or something, try to save
They
them from
are.
something.
I go say I think we had 8 inches of snow for about the last 2 to 3 weeks, and the snowdrops are up 6-8 inches tall already that came up underneath the snow. So
Mhm.
Yeah, my lemons are in season.
Oh, awesome.
No, Tim and I
Cool.
probably got what'd you get, Tim?
California, we don't have
3
any of that.
feet? I think we have 3 feet of snow in my yard still.
Yeah, but you know what? I could see grass. I've seen grass for the first time in like a month.
Yeah.
Because it's finally melting. We got 50 degrees, I think it was like 55
Yep.
yesterday. Today was in the 40s and the sun's been out. My roof is clear of snow for the first time also in like a month. So yeah, so it's very exciting. It's the little things to be excited about. So, and that's definitely something I can hold on to right now. But so yeah, so March 1st, this episode will be coming out as you're listening to it. That also means that there's a new higheredav.com website. We have a new layout and everything coming out for that. New articles, same AV Life episodes being put out there. AV Super Friends, Joe's Higher Ed AV podcast. Since he's not here to promote it, I'll promote it. And and there's
good.
also
Controls you
yes.
from elsewhere.
It's just
Shameless
ingrained.
promotion. Got machines.
It's ingrained. Yeah.
Yes.
You can visit our sponsors for the higheredav.com website there. Like Sennheiser, that we did do a little bit of a thank you out
Sennheiser is
to.
awesome.
Yes, their products are very good, and
Used them for
they're
years.
awesome. They're an awesome partner with higheredav.com. So we're glad to have them along for the ride. And you can see like HETMA, and there's so much to do there. So take the time after you've listened to the AV Life, then go to the website and go and take a look at the awesome content there.
Yeah, don't forget my column.
Oh yes, like James, don't forget his column. So
That guy.
the Alice, at least on mine. So yeah, you're in the Alice square tonight, James. I'm sorry. So
It's
someone
has to.
Yeah. Do you cook and clean like Alice?
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Sorry. Okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I'm apologizing right now for that. Like,
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh yeah.
For the
maybe I
young
need to-
viewers, that is a reference to a very old television show.
Right. That we all
Brady
grew up
Bunch.
with.
Yeah, the Brady Bunch. Yeah, go catch it on like TV Land or something like that. If you got that, if you have that cable television station, which also might be a problem for some of our younger viewers, because if you're a cord cutter, you may not have it. Anyway, so before we get into the whole COVID conversation, last week we had talked a lot about things that have surfaced after the HETMA conference and then the HETMA takeover of AV in the AM. And we talked a bunch about that. Aaron tweeted out to us after he listened to our episode, and I wanted to give him the opportunity because he was absolutely right. We did not have an integrator on last week when we did this.
When we crucified the integrators.
When we crucified the
a
integrators.
little bit.
I was going to say, Renee and I tried to represent a little bit.
Yeah.
I actually was going to reply to your tweet, Aaron, and go, well, if you listen at whatever minute it was,
You did.
I
You did
come in
mention
and
it.
say,
That's true.
As a person with integrator experience, though, I was on your side. Like, yeah, they can be terrible.
Yeah. And like I said, like, unfortunately, the ones that leave the bad taste in our mouth, they're the ones that we remember. And we do remember the good. We do remember the good integrators because they're the ones that we go back to time and time again. So once you build that relationship, everything's good. So I wanted to bring Aaron in to kind of give him the integrator spotlight, as it were, for this. So I thank you, Aaron, for bringing your side in. So if you want to give your side of it, we could do that now. And
Well, first off, I wanted to say, for those of you who aren't familiar with Mechdyne, I don't really consider ourselves a traditional AV integrator. And what I mean by that is we do a lot of very specialized projects, whether it's 3D systems or a lot of executive briefing centers or really cool, complicated structures. We're really not utilized often in doing 100 classrooms at a time. That's really not what we strive to do. And so I'm well aware that when you have an integrator or someone that is doing 100 cookie cutter rooms, sometimes corners can get cut. And And so I know that that's what you guys were talking a lot about, that haven't had always the best experience with integrators. And I know that a lot of our internal processes are geared towards these larger, more complex, more costly systems that are out there. And because of that, we don't always do a lot of the cookie cutter, tons of rooms that are the same kind of thing, because the way our processes work. And so I just felt that there were a lot of overgeneralizations that were being stated that don't fit our internal processes. And that's what was kind of getting me screaming about, like, it's not quite the same. And obviously every integrator is going to be a little bit different in how they do things. And so it was just something that I wanted to scream at my radio as I was on my 45-minute drive into the office.
So the one thing I want to say, Aaron, you're right. There's always an exception to the rule, even though you always focus on what seems to be what's popping out and coming in. But yes, there's always that diamond in the rough who's a great integrator. But then you also have the bad ones. I know we have our fair share of our good ones and our bad ones when we deal with them. And that's kind of what we were talking about. I know Joe was really focusing on the bad ones, but yeah, it was I definitely agree with you, Aaron. There could be really good ones. I mean, I remember one project I worked with a guy, and he actually appreciated like someone in my position, because like I was working with him, told him what we wanted, how we wanted it, and he actually goes, you know, it was nice working with someone who knew what they were talking about and what they wanted. And then I had an integrator where I laid everything out to him, and then he went to my coworker and said I didn't give him anything. It's just like you said, you get the good, you get the bad.
And I'm not saying we're 100% perfect. And we definitely have projects that don't go perfectly smooth. And the ones that I feel that I personally have had go smoother are when there are hiccups. How do I'm very much a fan of letting the client know of this is what's going on, walking them through just so that they're not in the dark. Don't try to pull the wool over their eyes and like, surprised that the room's not ready. Like, don't do that. Just tell them, hey, things are taking a little bit longer. We're having a little bit of issues with product X, Y, and Z. We're working with the manufacturer. Tell them the steps that yes, there might be a problem. Tell them the steps that you're trying to fix the problem. Just keep them informed. And I think that that's overall what a lot of projects go a lot smoother.
I agree. I'm a big component when I tell people this all the time. You're gonna fail. It's how you recover from failing is what shows you who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Aaron, just because I know the concept of the larger integrator being the problem and being lost in the larger scope of things. How big is Mechdyne, just as a comparison? I mean, you've gone to Tampa, so.
Yes, I'm personally right now. I'm in Tampa. So we do projects all over the world. We've done international projects. How big are we is kind of a very interesting question because we have a lot of different divisions. Mm-hmm. So we do have like a software division that does 3D visualization software. That's all they do.
Okay.
And so, but then we have our integration that does a lot of AV integration. A couple of years ago, we actually purchased a company that does IT services. We have a division that people can outsource their IT services to Mechdyne. And so we've got all these different parts and pieces, and each one has their own profit and loss statements, and they all have to make their own money. And it's kind of hard for me to exactly say. I think we're around 400 employees right now.
Okay.
I think, off the top of my head, but like I said, they're in all these different divisions, and I don't know the exact number. I'm not in HR.
No, that's fine. No. Just to give people a ballpark as to, like, because some integrators you have in your area, they're mom and pop shop. There's 12 of them that work for them, so and again, it was generalizations. It was not it's
Absolutely.
yeah. Sorry, I'm got this chat gets me every time, it's like but and,
Well,
and
I
we're
want
we will never publish that, by the way, so you all will just wonder what we
Yeah.
are chatting about. So if anyone has that thought in their head of, oh, I wonder what's going on in that chat, it's not happening. Like, you got the video, you got this is all you're getting.
Called the statute of limitations.
Exactly. That's the behind the scenes stuff that you don't need to know, so but yeah, so all right, so well, thank you, Aaron. I mean, I wish I had you here last week, although with Joe, you never know, it would have just
It would have been
yeah,
probably.
yeah.
He was in a
So,
mood.
he
Um,
was.
But I
Yeah.
wonder, one thing that he brought up last week was the M&As and how strong the mergers and acquisitions are going to be this year. And it sucks because some of the good guys are the little guys and they're getting
Yep.
gobbled up. But I thought about that after I listened to it again, is what's going to happen to those guys who are not that much on the quality side, right? Or they're going to get gobbled up, and it might be for the better, right? Maybe these are the guys that are the shady ones that need to go away, but it's just going to be an interesting year. But and just kind of like that tweet, Nancy, that we were talking about earlier, it's so hard to generalize, because you could have one of the biggest integrators in the company and have a really crappy account executive or engineer, but that doesn't represent them as a whole.
I was just telling a friend in Texas, he was having a hard day, and a coworker in Texas. I was telling him about this is when I worked for a company that doesn't exist anymore that made hard drives. They ended up getting bought by another company, which eventually got bought by Seagate, right? So big company, right? And so I was doing audio, video for them, doing their video conferencing. And I was trying to make it work. See, this is from the perspective of the customer side, right? We were running operations. I was running the operations, keeping it running. And I'm like, okay, I've got to get this going. That was very early in my career, trying to get it going. And I was like, okay, I know how to fix this problem. This is what we're going to have to do. And I finally mustered up the courage to go talk to the person above the CIO. Big deal, right? To go talk to him. Okay, this is what we need to do. And he said, we don't want it to work that well. And I burst into tears. Because I'm like, I'm spending all my energy to keep this thing running, and you're telling me that you don't want it to work that well. That's part of what I'm saying here too, from the customer's perspective. And you guys in higher ed might understand this too, that there's not the will to invest in the highest quality. Sometimes that's the case.
Well, yeah, I guess
Good
that's
enough, right? The good enough.
good enough. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Good enough.
Makes me
The
almost
lowest
Keep
bid.
running, just keep it running.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that there is something certainly to that. I'm wondering, I guess, going forward, since everything is going virtual in so many ways, or I know they're trying to get back there, but whether or not they get back to full-time in-room instruction, whether or not that means that all these potential college students out there across the world are now going to be picking and choosing. The regional, just because you live in one area doesn't mean you're now limited to just regional colleges or universities. You can go anywhere. Wonder what that's going to do to the competition levels and things like that.
So about a year before COVID happened, I was on just some discovery calls with one of our account managers, and we went to a college and we're asking about their general EV, and they didn't have anything in terms of recording capabilities or distance learning or anything. And we just kind of asked them, like, have you guys thought about that? What's your plan? Like, because if anything, at the time, it was an outreach tool to try to attract students from all over the world if they needed to, but they had really no interest in it. And I personally haven't talked to that college since COVID started, but I assume some people have changed their tune.
Oh, yeah.
So this is my thing, and this is kind of going with what Renee was talking about, and is one is you look at any business that digs their heel in and doesn't adapt to change, they die. Look at, I mean, music companies with this who tried to say 8-track only, or then when the CD player came and then the MP3, now streaming. If those companies didn't adapt, they died.
You say Polaroid?
Yeah,
Polaroid, yeah.
That
Well,
was a good
Which
one.
is funny though, that because Polaroid, because it's now retro, is a big thing.
Yeah,
So
that's
my
coming
son
back,
has
Eric.
my son has a Polaroid camera now. Like it's not Polaroid, it's Fuji, but it's the same.
Well, I can tell you this from a firsthand knowledge, and this is where I guess this is the first time I get to do a shameless plug, but I do some consulting work for X2O Media, which is also a Stratacache company. They have a virtual classroom product, which is what I did at West Virginia University for 15 years. Only difference was we did it with hardware back then and not software, but it's the same pedagogy in the classroom. They've got a product, and this was pre-COVID, and they've been continuing to do it throughout COVID. They're putting the Dog and Pony Show on 2-3 weeks a month, several days a week, and they are getting packed. Now, these are virtual classroom. They're actually using the software, and they're bringing anywhere from 10, 15, 20 different universities at a time, 2 sessions a day, and they're packed. And so what I'm saying is that competition, I think, is going to have a lot to do with AV before it's all over with, because that's where, let's face it, every one of those kids that matriculate somewhere, I don't care if it's a community college, junior college, full-blown university, that kid represents a check for 4 years. All right.
Or more.
That's
Or
right.
more.
And the
On it.
differentiation is, what are you going to do with that wow factor to say, you know what, I'm going to go to Kim's virtual university instead of Nancy's virtual university, because she's got the bells and whistles that I think are kind of cool, or that they're investing those technology dollars. I think we're going
Well,
to see a
wait.
real shakeout in higher
And
ed.
that's-
There was a thing that they said international students couldn't keep their visas and go to school if it was virtual school.
No,
They-
That-
they
they-
didn't.
something like that,
They
right?
pulled that, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
They
if
pulled that
that is
back, yeah.
reversed, if that's reversed, the money is free flowing. All the international students pay full price and more. So that's,
So-
Aaron, get your people on this.
Now, going with what Spence said, I can see a shakeup in higher ed, but I'm wondering if it'd be a little more extreme. And again, this is just thinking outside the box, and what I can see happening is right now, colleges, you need 32 credits. You have to have some general courses. A lot of those kids don't care. Kids want to return on their value right now, return on their investment. So I can see more of, hey, University of Kim has this class I like, and University of Tim has this class I like. So I pay for her class, I pay for his class. I'm not doing a program through a university. I'm just almost matrix style, downloading what I need for that time and moving on.
Taking it
But
a la
are you
carte.
saying that AV is not
That's
going to
what
make
I
a
was gonna say,
difference?
a la carte.
Oh,
Yeah.
no. I meant AV is definitely making a difference. I meant the whole shakeup in our ed. I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
it's just going to be a virtual university.
Yeah, it might be a la carte.
Yeah, I think it's going to
Yeah.
be more a la carte.
So, but here's where the rub is going to be, is that then our university is going to have to be more flexible to accept credits from other
That's
universities.
going to be the real
You're gonna
rub
have to.
Because let me tell you, at Rutgers, it doesn't even work
within the university.
Within the university. Yeah. So from Camden to New Brunswick and from New Brunswick to Newark doesn't
Okay.
always work.
So this is hitting close to my home of Claremont, California, which has the Claremont colleges,
Mhm.
and they are a consortium of colleges. I don't know when it was 100 or 50 years ago. They all decided to like come together and be like a commune of colleges, and they all share those together. They share libraries are all in common, and they share credits like that. So what if there became virtual college consortiums where people got together and formed like that could be a powerful. We are obviously restructuring.
Okay,
all
let's play that out. All right. Let's say you've got USC in your consortium. Let's say that you've got Texas, Baylor, you've got Iowa State, you've got all these different. Now, how soon do you sit there and think that it does not come down to money as to who's going to get to be in that consortium? The reason being is they're going to sit there and say, now, this course, Economics 101 course from USC versus the Econ 101 from a community college is not the same. I think you're going to set off a pricing war sooner or later.
Well, if you decouple what has been like a degree from a university, and they were like, well, we accept you now and you can go in ours, and we're very picky about it. Well, if this is a matter of life or death, they're going to start coming up with,
well, if the
but it may not even get to that though. That's the thing. I think that the bureaucracy is so set on the individual universities that we're not going to even, it's not even going to be something that's acknowledged.
You got the Power 5 conferences right there. Okay. They can't agree on playing basketball, let alone sharing curriculum.
I'm just saying, if somebody could, maybe I need to go down the street and tell the people here that they should expand it.
So let's take it.
They're already doing some of it.
My thing is your clients are going to determine that. And in higher ed, our clients are students. I mean, yes, you could have your USCs, your Rutgers, your Vanderbilt, and these high powerful Penn State schools who are, traditions. You got to do it this way. You don't get the students in the door, you're going to shut your doors.
You got a new tradition. Yeah.
Yeah, but and I know we've talked about this before, the virtual environment is not for everybody.
No,
there's going to be a place for brick and mortar. Now, yes, is Rutgers possibly going to have to reinvent themselves in some aspect? Yes, I think that's going to have to be something that's discussed, and we're not going to be the only ones that are going to have that conversation. But but at the same time, I don't see it going, virtual Rutgers. And we'll take your credits from County College of Morris, even still very good county college, but it's like it may not necessarily equate that way, just like like with the econ classes.
What do you think is going to happen with brick and mortar though? I mean, you got to understand something. That's real estate. All right. There are mortgages that are astronomical. There are empty buildings that still have to be heated, whether there is one student in there or whether there's 500 students in there. At what point are these universities, colleges at any level going to sit there and say, you know what? I mean, right here at WVU, when I was there, and I graduated in 1981 from the College of Business and Economics. Okay. It was in Armstrong Hall. 20 years later, they built this ginormous, beautiful new College of Business and Economics, got all sorts of money for it. I got my master's degree there in 2002. The College of B&E is now, they tore down the old field house across from the road from there and are building a brand new building. It's not even finished yet. Where's this money coming from? And I mean, sooner or later, the money is going to come into play. And I really wonder what the actual physical campus is going to look like, because virtual is going to be too tempting
Well, the first thing I see happening is, and I think we're already kind of going in that direction, just in general, is that all the administrative people, like the accountants, the facilities people, they're all going to work. Anybody who doesn't have to actually be on campus is never coming back. We've got administrative buildings that maybe have 30 people on a 4-floor building, so because there are some people that have to be in the building, but
Kim, I'm going to
that's-
ask you a question. Kim and I talked about this months ago. Kim has an office, downtown?
Midtown Manhattan. It's like right in Times
Midtown.
Square.
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
Midtown Manhattan. Okay, we're not talking low rent. Okay.
No.
Oh, no.
All right. Kim has a nice office down there. All right. COVID hits and now they're all at home. Kim, what did you tell me coming out of COVID that you would do with that office? What you were paying a pricey sum for every month?
Well, we'll probably convert I just don't see us all going back to Times Square every day. We don't all need to be there. If we're not having meetings with people in New York, there's no reason for that. Also, some of our staff are commuting really far and paying a lot of money for bus passes and train passes and parking, and they don't really need to be there all the time. So we might convert some of that to more like open communal space so that when we're all together, we're working in a more collaborative environment.
And did you not say also that maybe instead of 5 days a week, 2 days a month, that everybody would come in?
Yeah, I think
So
that's
what's that going to
probably-
do to your real estate value for the guy that owns that joint?
Yeah,
Right.
Honestly, half of that building right now is empty.
That's my point about the college campuses is, are we going to see that become a norm?
If
You know
Post
what?
COVID.
I
college,
think
if
there's
the
a
college
swing
is
to that. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Aaron.
this is a commercial real estate disaster that's
Yeah.
happening, because I know firsthand of many companies that are canceling leases, if not the whole lease, part of the lease, because like you said, let's say 50% of the people need to come into work, and then you're playing musical desks and having different people take different desks,
And you got to clean them.
you've got to clean them, you've got to heat them, you've got to light them, you've got to just the having them exist costs money. There are tons of companies that are taking the penalty in their contract by canceling entire floors of real estate that they just don't need anymore.
Right. Your
Mhm.
fixed costs are your upkeep. Your variable costs are your people. So
Mhm.
what's going to get whacked?
I do think though there's a certain level of simplification of the human experience though that we're talking about. Like when I went to college, I didn't just pick my college because they had the classes that I wanted to take. I picked my college because I really loved the campus. I wanted to go to a big city because I'd grown up in a small town. I wanted to have a college that had a really robust arts program. Like I imagine if you were in sports, you'd want a college that had good sports programs. I think it's the same thing with jobs, right? Like right now we're in this, I don't want to make any hard decisions in the middle of a pandemic, right? Like right now it's like, well, I don't know, maybe we don't ever need to be in the office again, but there's a certain amount of like camaraderie and office culture and college culture and experiences that, like when I think of college, I don't think of bioengineering 104. I think of my college improv group. Those are the things that really shaped who I am as a grown-up, not chemistry.
That the majority of those things don't have anything to do with college. Improv is free.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you find
much
outside
people-
programs for that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean,
you
Yeah,
don't
and-
need a college campus for those. And I agree. We are social people by nature. We want to gather in groups. College campus is great for that. And it's an environment that allows you to explore areas you may not be familiar with or comfortable with. But take that out of the college and you put that in these real estate buildings set, you're still getting an experience. Now it's not the college experience, but you still can get groups together and build that community and go off. The
No,
one thing I want to say about real estate though is yes, short-term real estate, it's going to take a big hit. But the one thing great about real estate is it's a finite resource. So you can only have so much of it. So these people who are still holding on to these buildings, they're going to get value of that somewhere, because someone's going to want that piece of land for something.
Right.
So there's going to be value.
Well, and I think the ones, again, we are all at a pivot point that it's about the reinvention. And it's going to be the same thing with any of these commercial real estate people that own these buildings. They're going to have to find a new way of leasing the space. Is it going to be easy? No, it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to be a lot of work, but if they do it right, they'll meet the people that they need to. And go ahead, Murphy. I know you brought up an interesting.
So we're talking
but go
about
ahead.
we're talking a little bit in the chat about college. The story is college is what kids do after high school, right? There was another story, the story that I had, and the story, well, you go get a job and move in an apartment with 8 of your friends.
I was going to
That's the other
say,
possibility.
not everything after high school needs you to go to college.
No.
Mhm.
In fact, take the AV industry. How many people in the AV industry have a degree in AV? I know I sure don't.
Well,
My degree is French.
well,
Mine's
okay,
by
let
the
me tell
Associate
you
of
about my
IT.
college experience. I did not have any. I had to go feed myself. I had to go find a place to lay my head, and I had like, my parents were not in the country. I had to figure it out. So I had nobody. So I had to go out and find a way to feed myself and figure it out. And I still wanted to go to college because I loved learning. And I found my way to Silicon Valley and got an internship for desktop video conferencing and collaboration. And that's what started me on this path. But once I had that, I went, oh, I can do this without graduating. So I'm not going to go into debt.
Sure.
And I went that path and took night classes.
Right.
And I took night classes in English because I love books and writing. And oh yeah, shameless plug. You guys, I have an awesome YouTube channel. I do YouTube reviews of books. They're amazing. They're great. You should watch them. Anyway.
And you have a book.
I got 4
4
books.
books.
Yes,
Yeah,
because
4
I
books,
like
excuse me.
writing. I was not kidding about being an English major. I never wanted to be a teacher. I just wanted to read books. I wanted to learn about that stuff. So yeah, you can go to my YouTube, Written by Murphy on YouTube. Check it out. So, but the thing is, I would love to keep talking about books with the people who love books as much as I do, or at least are willing to tolerate me loving them as much as I do. And where would I find that? Universities. But I'm not going to go, what? I'm going to quit my job to get a doctorate in English literature or whatever literature? Like, no, I can't do that. Like, there is no value to that. So I'm going to do it another way, partly by gathering a community of people in the socials world. So it's not, there's not like, what's the point? There's less people going to less people buying what they're selling because we figured out how to do math by the time we're old enough to have that kind of loan. A lot of us did.
I mean,
Well, yeah, I'm in that same boat, Murphy. You know, I started my degree in 1998. I didn't finish till 2014. It took me 16 years to finish it
Yeah.
because I got a full-time job. I started working, and
Yeah.
then it was like, well, I'm doing
Wasn't
pretty
me.
good for myself without it. And then it got to the point when I started working in higher ed. I'm like, well, I need that to keep going up. And now I'm at the point where it's like, oh, I need my master's degree. I gotta get on that. So
that's the thing is, I agree with you, Murphy. I've been working higher ed for 12 years. People who probably been working in higher ed longer than me have seen this trend as well. Is college has just became the 13th grade. It used to be you went to college to get advanced degree, to get an advanced job. Now it's what you do after high school, and it's
But
now
see,
your master's is what
I'm
you
not
do.
even sure it was that back then. That's this myth that we told ourselves. That's a
I-
myth.
I
That's
mean,
like a
if
story.
you look at it, most people who probably 15 plus years ago when they went for their masters or their PhDs. Those were people who were looking to be college professors or looking to be, CFOs, not of these startup companies, but like, CFOs of
Real
Fortune
companies.
500 companies. But the problem is the generation coming in, they're fast. They're streamlined, they're agile. They bring in what they need and only what they need. They don't go for the fluff that everything else is telling them to be. And that's why I agree with you. Like, these kids are going to college because their parents told them to. But now the generation is coming in and going, wait a second, I don't need to come out with tons of debt. I'm gonna go get a trade school, go to a trade school, or just go right into the workforce and
Read a
make money.
book and study it for themselves, or go find somebody who knows how to do
Mhm.
it that they can sit next to and learn from, which is
It's a
better than the
pendulum
college
swing.
anyway.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
pendulum swing, and we're on the downtake of where the pendulum was going. Oh, you have to go higher ed and get a degree, to going back to no, just advance your career by working and doing what you love. And it's going to keep going back and forth. Soon we're going to swing too far and one side, and we're going to
Oh, our beloved market will help.
yes,
The market will influence it and help
yes,
it.
it will.
But see, the problem is, here's the thing. These young teenagers go into college, right? And they're like, I'm going to go have a successful life. Oh, a person who knows things. Professor, how should I have a successful life? Professor says, be like me. And they're like, okay, but that professor's not giving them the real deal on how many really open positions they are to be like that person who has tenure and is going to live till they're 90 and never quit. So this is not valid. So
So-
they're giving bad
With
advice.
tenure, you can't get fired either.
I
Oh,
know. So
I'm
they can
telling you,
come
in
in at
university,
90 and not do anything.
there were some profs that really should not have been there, but because of tenure, oh, it was a killer.
Well, and that's what I think that's gonna be our
Yep.
biggest hurdle going forward with trying to do hybrid or anything like that. And that's also why brick and mortar is always going to exist until those professors don't exist. That's what's gonna happen.
Well, and see, I've
Well,
never,
my thing,
I've never understood that. You get where else in the real world do you get a guaranteed job you can never be fired from?
Oh,
Judges.
Politics.
yeah, but my
Well-
thing
Yeah.
is, even with professors being tenured, which is, I see some pros, I see cons. I won't even go there with that, the whole thing of tenure. My thing is, if we're talking about jobs, protected or not, say we'll use the University of Kim here. University of Kim.
Kim.
If Nancy is a tenured professor at the University of Kim and
That
she
should have
closes her doors,
Oh.
tenure doesn't protect you. The doors are
Mhm.
closed.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's my question. I was a recruiting officer for my university when I graduated. So I traveled across Ontario to the high schools to talk to the kids about school, the programs and all that. How is recruiting going to change now? Is it going to be all virtual? How,
I
mean,
think
they-
it's going to be
how are
mixed.
we going to gain,
That's
how
my
are you going
point.
to gain the interest of, high school students that because they can't
Well,
make
here-
campus visits?
Well, here's the thing. Actually, the interesting thing is, I was talking to, I was picking up bagels last weekend at our local bagel shop here, because that's what you do in Jersey on Sundays, is you pick up bagels for everybody. At least that's what I do. So I was talking to one of the girls that's at the bagel shop, and she's actually flying to Florida like next week to go visit schools. So it's still happening.
It
Like,
is.
people are
It
still
is.
going.
Yeah.
But again, I see your point though, Nancy, is that I think you're gonna have to have a virtual option of some sort, or like some virtual open house where people can do exactly what we're doing right now. You zoom
What's
in.
going to happen
and-
to all the dormitories on campuses?
Okay, I have to ask a question. It's
Go ahead,
been-
Renee.
And I know I'm always that dumb girl in the middle of the country that is nowhere near affected like you guys are on the coast. But do you really think we're never getting back to the classroom, to the dorms, to the offices? Do you really think that isn't, even if it's 18 more months or 12 more months or whatever,
No.
you really think that's going to be the case? I
That's
mean,
a good point. That's a
I
good point.
mean-
We'll be back.
We'll be a
We'll
middle,
be back,
we'll be
yeah.
a middle point.
I
You'll-
mean, I think there's always going to be a virtual side to everything from now on, right? Because there's going to be people that just don't want to do it. So you're going to have to offer that hybrid situation.
Okay,
but-
then,
It's gonna be back in the fall. It's gonna be back in the fall.
no,
but
here,
we said that-
if
we said that
anybody,
last year too.
I think everybody missed Dr. Fauci yesterday said,
Yesterday.
yeah,
When
he said,
This is
You know,
Wednesday, by the way.
yeah,
So
he said,
for-
even his exact statements was, even with the vaccines, we're not going to be able to go to theaters. We're not going to be able to go to the way we were. We're not going to be able to congregate. We're not going to be able to go out to restaurants, even with the vaccine that they promised us was going to be the cure to everything. They have lied and lied and lied. And now do you think we're going to go back to campuses? Because are the
Ever?
campuses, are the
For the
campuses,
rest of the ever, Spence?
okay, let
So-
me ask this. What do you think that a university's insurance is going to cost them for liability after post-COVID? I have a feel, having spent 20 years in the insurance business in a previous life, I'm just telling you that, you can be sued by anybody for anything. And it's a question of what you can convince 12 people in a box that you're hoping that some of them are going to side with you on there. I just really think that this is going to be the norm.
Well, we're a year into this thing. How
Okay.
many lawsuits have there been? I mean, how many lawsuits where people are suing people for where they got the,
I would venture a guess to say that there are lawsuits probably for employees against employers for forcing them to work.
Yeah, I know those have happened.
My point simply is that is an easy way for somebody to say, you know what, I'm offended and I want my money. And I just really think that universities are going to have to think hard from a liability standpoint, because we know, first off, when COVID first came out, where did you spike a lot of cases? On university campuses? We did here at WVU. I know that because kids, I was a dumb kid too one time. Do you think I would listen to anybody if I was 18 years old and the first time I was away from mom and dad? So I just really think we've got to look at it from a global standpoint of human nature too.
So
Right. Well, that's the thing is like, Rutgers, shut down whatever we did for the dorms and things like that. But then students got off campus housing. Well, we can't stop them from doing
Can't
that.
do that. That's right.
And then
And they
but
come back
start
on
throwing-
campus.
Right. And they started throwing parties and stuff like that too. Again, because it's off campus. So it's
and they're still college kids. They're just
still
college
college
kids,
kids.
right?
That's right.
Mhm.
And if I'm mom and dad and my kid all of a sudden racked up a $50,000 hospital bill, if you don't think I'm not going to go look to see who held that party that my idiot kid decided to go to and got sick, I'm just saying that I think we got to look at just a little bit more than the obvious sometimes on some of these things. I don't think they're going to go back the way they were.
So my thing is, one, Spence, you're right. People are going to sue for anything. I mean, you can sue someone for looking at you the wrong way. The thing is, the COVID is going to become from a pandemic to what's that term? A epidemic or not epidemic? Basically, what the flu is.
Influenza?
No, and that's the type of infection it is. It's not a pandemic, but it's like an endemic or something like that, where it just means that it's always going to be around. Just like the flu is always around. Colleges are not getting sued if there's kids get the flu. That's not
Mhm.
happening.
well,
This whole
yeah.
COVID thing,
We
I
can't
think
know. We can't know.
You can't.
Fauci knows. Fauci knows
Yes,
everything.
Fauci knows.
shit.
Okay, he's the guy who knows. So we'll do everything he says. Yeah, and I wanted to take a minute and talk about my PM minute, my minute.
Yeah, so as I didn't want to stop the conversation. We were going so well, Murphy. So that's
Perfect segue.
yeah,
right, right.
But then
And
it's funny because I think we could roll this right back into, because we were going to talk about a year from, that we're a year in for COVID. So we could go back to this, but
Yeah,
let's do the PM minute. We'll take a breather to gather our thoughts, and let's let's continue.
Okay.
Go ahead, Murphy.
so in PMing and in life, one of the things I have to do as a project manager is gather all the facts from the subject matter experts, the people who know how to do the thing that needs to be done. I don't know how to do it, but I know how to organize the project. So I have to get all the people together and say, okay, what's it going to take to do this? What's it going to take to do this? And gather all the information. And there will come a time when someone is going to want to do it differently than how I see it needs to be done. And I have to hold my ground. I have to say, I hear you, and this is how it's going to be done, and insist on it. Holding, it's something that has to be pulled out carefully. It's best if you have consensus and you all agree to it together, but there is from time to time someone who's going to go off of the plan that is clearly what needs to be done. And I have to hold the line in spite of other people telling me I'm wrong when I see what it is and go forward. So this is the being the tough guy. You got to be the tough guy from time to time. You got to say, I know what needs to be done. The decision has been made. This is the plan. We're doing it. And that happens, and you got to be prepared. I early on, I would kind of go, oh, I don't know. I mean, and try to convince that person, which was not a strong position. And then I would realize, oh, nope. There's a point where I realized discussion is not going to help anything. You have to hold it and say, this is the plan, right or wrong. These are the actions we have to take.
All right. Well, they got to be the tough guy.
So,
Yeah, or a tough girl,
so
tough
Murphy,
lady.
how does that, I mean, you have mentioned a couple times, like a couple episodes ago in your PM that, you have something in your mind you want to say, and someone else has something in their mind they want to say, and they don't hear each other. I understand you do have to do that sometimes. You have to draw that line. But how can the PM do that tactfully, where you're not crushing I'm going to try and look for the word, crushing the thoughts or the ambition or even the morale of the team. If I come to you and be like, well, let's try this, and you're like, no, we got to do it this way. You kind of just diminish my value to the team. Like, how do you do that as a PM? Even though you do have to draw that line, I agree with you there.
Yeah, and that has to be done carefully. This arriving at the decision of what needs to be done next should be done in conversation. You figure it out, and if possible, in the moment, you can arrive at it and go, okay. And one person just disagrees. I go, you can say it right then. You can also, if it's really strong, you table it and come back and say, we looking at all the information, this is what we have to do. I'm sorry, James, I heard you, but this is what we're going to have to do. I'll need you to do this and this, and thank you for your contribution.
So, I never had a boss that told me I heard you.
Yeah.
It was like,
That
this is the
sounds
way
like
we're going to do
that
it.
sounds like marriage counseling.
I was just going to say, I must have missed that nice part in management school.
Well, if you have to go there, you don't have to say that, but I mean, if it's really volatile and you need everyone to go forward, you can do it. That's one way to get consensus and say, I'll need your help. I understand that you have reservations, but this is what the group is going to need to do.
And it's not the first time that the PM minute has turned into marriage counseling. So
True.
You gotta know
Spence
how
is
to
like,
talk to
I
certain
would never
people.
do it that way. It's my way or the highway.
So what I'm hearing,
it's like what I'm hearing
Oh my
you say,
gosh, here we go.
if I want to speak my truth.
Oh. I'm telling you what, I had to sit through some of that stuff and I wanted to gag.
Wow. Okay. Wow. There's some stuff.
you
We're
know,
unpacking it now. Okay.
Yeah, we are, because you know what? I grew up in a time it was like, nobody's going to sit there and ask me what my opinion was. They're going to sit there and say, you know what, we're going to do it this way, or you can find another job. It's just that simple, Spence.
Yeah,
You
I'm
don't
working
have to
with a
be
lot
here.
of 20 nothings right now. That's
No,
not.
yeah, I know. That's the problem. That's the problem. I was
It's-
never in that group.
It's one problem, but I mean, it could be,
See,
it has, it's,
We're too
I
soft.
don't know if it's fully a generational thing, because I actually at one time had a job where a guy was older than me, and he just wanted to feel like he was valued as a team. So say we had a job to do, and I knew it would be best to do it X, Y, and Z. And he saw we should do Z, Y, X. I knew that wouldn't work. You couldn't just tell him that. You kind of had to let him voice his concern and do it. And then he'd be like, okay, I understand. Let's do your way. Like,
And what about the Peter principle, where you reach your own level of incompetency? That sounds to me like that sooner or later would shake out, wouldn't it?
well, there you go. No, but like
That
we said,
doesn't-
one size doesn't fit all. So
That's right.
some
Not everybody
people
wears
need
size
to-
13 shoes.
Some people need to experience
I
it
do.
to then be able to understand and say, you know what, you're absolutely right. It won't work.
well,
But
when
telling somebody, no, it's not going to work, it's just not satisfying. You got to go through the motion.
yeah. So it's funny, Spence, as you were talking about going through marriage counseling, and I know we're about to talk about a year of COVID. One of the things that's happened is during this year of togetherness, my husband has gotten some of my bad habits. He is starting to cuss. I will cuss like a sailor when I'm
Ooh.
mad.
Get out of town.
I'm
I
not
do
mad at him.
see you.
Oh,
I do not see humor.
I cannot see it either. I was just gonna say,
Yeah, no, that's
Way.
Mm. Well, I'm not usually mad with you guys. I never have needed to.
thank goodness.
But and so I'll be, he has definitely heard, especially because our desks are right next to each other here when I'm working at home. He's heard me rip it, like complaining about a customer or whatever to some of my colleagues, and he's taken it up a bit. Just a bit, not nearly as bad as me, but he was a gosh, gee golly, willikers, but
Mm.
now it's gotten a little salty. So that's one of the things that's changed, and I'm like, it's kind of fun.
Well, that's what happened. Actually, I had a similar thing with not with my wife, but with my boss. Is that I had a good like month, and he's like, "You're cursing a lot more than you used to," and I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know what it is." I didn't realize it until he pointed it out to me, and I was kind of like, "Oh, okay." So I think I need to cool off here, and so I think it was just again, it's after a year of being one of the few that are going out to campus, that are doing things and getting things done, and it seems the other like part of my team that's home and doing what they need to from there and not having to commute, not having it like, and I'm like, there's probably like a bit of jealousy that's involved in that, but at the same time it's frustration that you don't have the hands on site that you need. So yeah, I had to
think-
curb that.
I think with me, I think that it's my wife works at the hospital, and it's like she gets up in the morning. If I'm already getting dressed and getting a real shirt on and things like, oh, you have meetings this morning. I think that's probably the thing that's probably not going to change.
I started to go back into the office because I hated working from home alone. I wanted the social atmosphere. Like now, when I say the office, we have a cube set up in one section of a big warehouse where all of our projects come in and stage, and all of our technology is built and stuff there. And so we have our installers still there building this stuff. And so just me being around people again I felt extremely healthy and needed to be done.
Do you think that that's going to affect us long term? The lack of social interaction that we're normally used to. I mean, especially with kids, I would think.
For kids, especially, it's there's going to be a thing.
I worry about my grandkids, but they're still too little to be in grade school yet. But I could only imagine if my daughter was the age of your kids, Kim, and you know, that social interaction is so formative.
But Spence, even with your grandkids, you know, they need to have, you know, playtime. They need to be able to have play dates, and they're not getting that. They're not learning how to interact with other kids, and you know, conflict resolution and
right.
And yeah, and
not getting exposed to all the daycare bugs you get.
That's what I'm concerned about. Yeah. My son has, not been sick, and it's because he's here. He's in the bubble. He hasn't had a cold. He hasn't had, so yeah, we're going to have a whole year of nothing. Like usually there's a stomach bug, there's something.
I used to not
building up immunities.
I used to always say I wouldn't have recognized my own kid without a green nose.
Yep. My boys, their doctor actually jokes about it and says, I don't know what you're doing, but continue doing it because I only see them once a year for a physical. The 1 year that I personally had them get the flu shot, they were the sickest ever. And so I stopped it, and they've never, we're talking 20 and almost 17-year-old now, and they're never sick. So I don't think necessarily having them around, sick kids. I think they're actually, like you said, Kim, is that they're building up their immune system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, there's like a series of rashes and weird things that kids just get in preschool, like Coxsackie and
what was it? The rush? Really.
All those weird things that kids are supposed to get by the time they're 5, and then you're immune to them forever. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen to our children that should have been getting sick from all of the other children, and now they've been incubated. There's going to be just like this year of hell where they just get all things all at once.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be like, well, you didn't get COVID, but you got all of the other things.
Well, even before COVID, there was a lot of issues where people, especially kids, that were all the communication they did was online and on social media, that when these actual in-person meetings started to happen professionally, they just didn't know how to interact with people. And this is only going to make that worse.
Do you think that when we go back to whatever normal is going to be, and a lot of us here made our livings on airplanes, basically, you think we're going to be able to travel like we did before without carrying? It was one thing to show up with your ticket and your driver's license. You're going to have your vaccination card and all these other things. I mean, what add additional layers of drama? Are they going to be taking our temperatures automatically as we walk through some temperature thing? That I kind of have a problem with the Fourth Amendment about that, but I'm just one guy. But I just wonder how much more intrusive.
Wait, which amendment is that one? The Fourth
Amendment? Yes.
Which one is that?
Unreasonable search and seizure.
Which is actually linked to a lot of people, besides the search and seizure, is actually they built a lot of privacy amendments off of that. Right. So, and that's what they're kind of talking about. Yeah. And like the temperature sensors, and again, we're no Josh here, so we won't know the laws really. But having somebody take my temperature is different, I feel, than having a machine display the temperature and a red or green light where anybody in
So
the
you
place
get
can
jerked
see it.
out of line.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
about that?
Well,
Because somebody that's not trained, because I triggered a light,
yeah.
they're going to pull me out and delay me from my job because it was a false positive.
Yep.
I got
I
Well,
don't
even
think
that,
you're gonna.
that even
well,
happens with the testing.
Yeah,
You know,
that's
even
right.
with regular tests. Well,
That's
that then that actually happened to me. And then I'll say it now because
We
everything worked
lost
out
a
all
whole
right.
crew in the crow's nest 2 weeks ago.
Yep.
At a basketball game because one guy tested positive. They were all in the crow's nest, came
Mhm.
back. It was a false positive. We lost
Yep.
him for the entire day.
Well, I lost 2 weeks at work because I had to stay home because my boss tested positive. He then the next day went and got tested, came back negative. Got it again 3 days later. It was negative again, but we couldn't go back. We had to stay out. So, and myself and my one coworker both had to stay home and work from home for 2 weeks because of that.
Well, and
So-
I guess my point, James, too, was that, and I agree with you. It's real easy to sit there and say, "Oh, come on, it's just the temperature."
Oh, well, no,
But
no. I
my
agree
point
with
is,
you.
it's the old proverbial nose
Yep.
of the camel under the tent flap. You know,
Yeah.
it's first the nose, now the eyes. Pretty
If-
soon you've got the whole stinking beast inside your tent.
If we're going to talk about amendments, we don't have to stop with the fourth, but it's a large topic.
Yeah.
No, I'm just saying when we're talking about what is life after COVID going to be like, or what the year of COVID, I just think that those are things that are coming
I don't
that
think
are already
I
in
think
motion.
The
So,
temperature
Spice,
thing, I don't think is going to be a thing because
I don't
we,
think
the,
so
we had a
either.
number of people that tested positive that never had a temperature.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, there's so many people that all the time had that they actually had COVID legitimately and never had a temperature. And so,
Mhm.
and there are just some people that naturally run hot. There are some people that naturally run cold. So I
Yep.
think taking a temperature for like going into an airplane, I don't think that's ever going to happen because
Mhm.
there's so many issues going either direction.
I went to the dentist the other day and they made me lean in there and they had that little thing and they took my temperature. I went in here today to the doctor's office and they took my temperature now. And again, I get it.
Mhm.
I'm just saying that it
wait,
worries me.
There's a regulation. There is potentially a regulation, whether how severe of a regulation, whether it's a habit or a true like they can gatekeeping thing. They can say, okay, we require that you have your temperature taken and it be at a certain level. Well, we can assume this could be used as a reason to bar people that are in some way undesirable.
Yeah.
Sure.
But I mean, what
Mhm.
I was going with, Spence, was I agree with you, the whole temperatures. What I'm talking about with the privacy is I don't agree with any the temperature taken, but I would be more accepting of having a like a gatekeeper, someone who's taking my temperature and they're the only one seeing my temperature
Mhm.
and they say I have a temperature, pulling me out of line, then me walk into this gate that has my temperature up on it and flashing lights if I'm over. That's now telling everyone around me that I have a temperature. Those were
Right.
where I was going.
If I get pulled out of line and I miss a business meeting because I got pulled out of line for a false positive, if you don't think I'm going to throw a Clark Griswold fit,
Mhm.
So this is
Well,
my
I think that's
whole-
why I think that's also why they were trying to mandate like doing a rapid test 48 hours before you leave, is that way hopefully you don't get pulled out of line like that. And it's one other layer of security for them, or safety, not security, safety.
do you think we'll ever get any of the things that have been taken away back? As far as the way we were
Depends what it
able to
is.
freely
depending
travel
on
before.
how you look at your freedom. It's,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again,
mean-
that's my point.
Well, and they're saying, I mean, so going back to health people that are saying, not just Fauci, but when it comes to getting the vaccination out, like, countries like ourselves and, the UK and places like that, like they're doing a good job. But there are some countries that are way far behind, or they're not getting the vaccine right now. So, international travel is always going to be suspect.
Yeah,
The
but
case
Or at
they're
least-
they're
or at
in, they're
least-
in their country. They're not in the United States of America with the Constitution and the Bill of Rights that we have. I'm talking about here in the United States.
Well, yeah, no, and I'm sure. And then what I was getting at was that, domestically we could fly, and I think eventually, yeah, we're gonna get back to normal. We'll be able to bounce around, and we'll go to Canada again. Canada will open up its border and say, yes, come back.
I'd love to go
Yeah.
see family if I could.
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
Did you guys hear?
But I think travel internationally may take a little while, even for us here in America. And
My
And
Disney cruise yesterday got canceled.
oh,
End of July to Norway and Iceland,
mm-hmm.
and they officially canceled it and refunded.
So
Well,
I
and-
heard.
You were gonna go on a Disney cruise to Norway?
Yeah,
Holy crap.
Wow.
That sounds like fun.
we're
So I
Disney.
heard
goes
today-
everywhere.
Yeah, we're Disney. That would have been our 12th cruise. So,
You're
Yeah,
plugged
we're
in.
big,
Okay.
or shall I say, my youngest. big
Mexico.
Disney.
I just booked Mexico again on Monday, so I'm going back
Yeah.
again. I just went in October, going again this October.
Did you
And I
guys
did go
hear-
through one of those machines, James, with the green red
Yeah.
thing
Mm.
in Mexico. I was looking and these people are all in all their, get up, and I was like, oh, good, I'm green. I'm good to get out.
Hazmat suits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But you know what, Spencer, you were talking about requiring us to have the vaccine card when you travel. I'm thinking it's going to be a while if that happens, because how can you do that when we can't even get, I don't know when it's going to be that I'm on the approved list to get the vaccine. If we can't even get all of our seniors
And
vaccinated.
what I'm hearing too is that the vaccine it's not like you get it once, that it's only going to be good for a few months.
So I actually was just going to say that. I heard so the Pfizer one was supposed to be 2 doses. You get the
Pfizer.
first one, and then I think it was 3 weeks later you get the second one. Well, now they're talking about it's like a couple more weeks later. They're talking about giving a third shot.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
Well, and
Yeah, I heard
That's
what I
a
had-
great idea. It's like that thing. They sold so much more shampoo after they said rinse and repeat.
right,
Just
good
keep
marketing.
stabbing them, right?
Ah,
Mhm.
Well, what I had actually heard was that if you got the normal series of the 1 or 2 shots there, that you would have to, like next year, like we do with the flu shots almost.
Yep, I heard that as
there.
well.
So my point
Okay.
is, I wonder if we're going to have to start flashing credentials just to get anywhere. And I worry about, to be quite honest, the organization that I'm chairman of, and Renee and Nancy and Kim, and I'm sure Murphy too. So many of the people that our organization works with fly internationally. That's how they make their livings. This is what I'm saying is it's one thing for us to, and this is where I think government really loses sight of it. It's easy for them to mandate all sorts of things, but the real life is this is impacting people's livelihoods and their families, and it's just dreadful. I have seen very, very dear friends lose businesses that they had built for 25 years because they can't get out there and travel.
Mhm.
And I just, there's got to be a better way.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah. So I mean, do we?
there's going to be a big change in the culture
Mhm.
because people are going
And
to
how many unemployed?
wait, what? People are going to start doing things. They're going to experience what it's like, and they're going to change their perceptions.
But will it be for the good or the bad?
Well, it depends on their experience. The science that my buddy, who's a health economist at Stanford, says that the actual death rates are low, what he's looking at. There's a lot of fear porn out there, and I don't think it's serving anybody.
I agree.
Right.
I
So when
agree
we
that
actually go out and experience it and stop, then
Well-
we're going to experience it and go, okay, we have to go live our lives. We have to have our business. We have to go do the things. And a lot of people are afraid to fly, but they learned how to do it because business required them to do it. There you go.
I agree that death rates were low. And so that's not what I looked at. What I looked at was the hospital rates, because our hospitals are overrun. But you go there for everything. You could be a car accident. So if our hospitals are overrun with COVID patients, are they treating the trauma patients coming in? Like, will they have the resources? That's what concerns me. The death rate, I agree, is low with the COVID. So that wasn't concerning me. It was the hospital rate.
Is it
Yeah.
still that way in Jersey? Is it still pretty bad?
I don't think so.
Uh,
I'll admit I have not followed up as much as I would like to.
Yeah, hold on. I have to give me a minute. I'll go
Because
look at
what
the,
it was
the
It's
bad.
better
governor's
in
post from today.
California. It's not, it's getting,
It's good
the
here
case,
too.
they're not even counting hospitalizations anymore. The hospitalizations are going down, 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 but the cases are going lower because we're not catching it as much. We're all getting a lot closer to
Aaron, you were on an airplane
herd
yesterday,
immunity.
the other day flying. Okay. You said
Yep.
that you didn't have any trouble there. Now, was the plane packed?
So Delta's doing a really good job at blocking off middle seats. And so in my plane, there were 2 seats on one side and 3 seats on the other. So the 3 seats, pretty much all the middle seats were open, unless you had like a family of 3 that were using all 3. And then they're blocking off usually the aisle seat on the ones of 2. And from what I've heard, Delta, of course, is losing money doing this, because I think they're the only ones still doing it. United is packing the plane still.
That's what I say. And then, so
All
we
right.
have a packed plane and we're wearing a mask and we're going to assume that nobody's going to get infected in a flying petri dish.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Well, they
yeah,
also
that's
have-
why I'm not flying. That's why I'm not flying anytime right now. Like
They
I
also
booked, I
have
booked a
better
Disney
air
trip.
purifying systems on
They do.
airplanes than you do in your
That's
house.
what I'd heard too.
Yeah.
You updated
Well, no,
that.
I'm not. So I'm booked to go to Disney in October, since we're talking about tripping. And my wife and I talked. We're not flying. Like
The
we're not
world
gonna,
or the
it's
land? The world.
the
right?
world. That I'm going to Florida. Yeah. So I've done the trip before by car, but that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna rent a
Sure.
car. We're gonna take 3 days, even though it only takes like a day. I could do it in a day, not stopping, but I don't do that much anymore. My 40-plus-year-old body, yeah, my body can't
Your
handle that
trial won't
anymore.
let you do that either.
Yeah. Good luck.
Well,
with that.
so I did. Well, last time we did it, we started at night. Actually, no, this was 2 times ago. We started at night and we drove through the night, and I traded off with my father-in-law because he came with me. So, we knocked it out in the 22, 24 hours, whatever it was.
Right.
But yeah, and then that trip, when I switched off in the morning, I had the shakes. I was nauseous. Like
Yep.
I was like, no, I can't do this again. So the last time we took 2 days to get down there, and so, but we're taking our time. Plus, I have all this vacation time I didn't use. So now I've booked myself for 2 weeks off in October, which I am very happy for. But
Nice.
but yeah, so anyway, I'm not getting in a plane. That's really what it boils down to. So if I'm going back down to Florida for Infocom, I'm going to get back in my car and I'm going to go back I'm going to do the trip all over again.
But I
But
think by October.
Road
it should
buddies,
be
right?
better.
yeah, James is getting in the car with me. We're going to go and we'll
Well,
take Kim
right-
if she wants to
I
come
want to
on
see
too.
James's card of vaccinations before he gets in the car, though, wouldn't you?
Well,
don't know.
I have that. I'm-
You're not authorized to see that, Spence.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's right. You want to bet?
Speaking of it,
Well, we're scheduled for October before Infocom to NAB in Vegas.
yeah,
Mm.
So
that's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah, it will
because
be.
I-
I miss Vegas. Oh
So-
gosh, do I miss Vegas?
As we're talking about shows here, who do you think is going to be the first show to actually have in person?
Mm.
I think NAB. I think NAB.
Think
is-
that NAB will be the first show to actually have somebody there in person.
Mhm.
Oh, actually, PSNI has Venice scheduled at the end of September for their members.
Venice.
Yeah, Venice,
Mm.
September 28th.
But that's for their members only, right?
It's for their members only, yes. So, but that's the one thing that I know because ISE is, well, I guess we'll find out Monday, right?
Yeah, Monday's the
Their
latest.
official decision.
Yeah.
And now before
Tweet
we
storms, no tweet storms.
no twist. So rolling back real quick. So I looked up the state hospitalizations here in New Jersey. There's
Okay,
2,000
okay. Hot
there's
off the
two-
presses.
2,032 people are in our hospitals with COVID right now.
Yeah, it's
Um,
not bad.
That was as of today. There were 271 people released today.
Yay.
So
That's
See,
a
when it was
lot.
bad,
That's like
we're-
10% of them are released.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
it was
No,
bad, getting that
the
news.
rates
if you
definitely
look at the
come-
if you look at the curve or well, it's not really a curve much anymore, but from the beginning, so a year ago we had over 6,000 people that were in the hospitals. Like I'm looking at the graph right now.
Yeah.
We had so that was probably March or April of 2020. We had about over 6,000 people that were in our hospitals, which is why we had the satellite hospitals that were set up at like the big convention centers and
Yep.
and then we got down to like it must have been like 800 people or something like that, like even less. It might have been like 400 people across the state, and then we had that holiday bounce, and now we're coming back down off of the holiday bounce.
You
So
know,
we're
I
about-
agree. The rates have been good, but that's like even when the whole COVID thing started, that's what I was looking at. I wasn't looking at the death rates. I was looking at the hospital rate, and I knew they were high for a while, and then I kind of stopped tracking it. I knew it was gonna work itself out.
But so have they lifted the restrictions a little bit for you folks? Like here in
We did.
California, they've gone back to that salons are open. You're able to do like outdoor dining. In fact, there was a brewery I saw.
We
people
are
post.
so excited that schools are supposed to open soon.
Mhm.
They have
Nice.
been totally shut down.
My son
My
goes
son
back.
won't do it.
Our
Ours
kids,
have not been totally shut down. Ours is 4 days a week, even though my girls are 100% at home. The schools are 4 days a week in person.
really,
Yeah,
Well-
my son on Monday goes back, or as you hear this, he
Mhm.
went back hybrid 2 days a week. So, but that's what they were back in October. So the hope is that we're starting at 2 days a week, and then by the end of the school year, we'll be back, hopefully full blown. So we'll see.
So my
So
daughter
Murphy,
has
you're
not seen
saying
a
that-
classroom since March 14th.
You're
of
saying it,
20.
yeah, in SoCal, they'll open up. See, Northern's different.
Well, they are legally allowed to open up, which might mean they are legally required to open up, but there is some resistance from the
There's
teachers.
a lot of pushback from teacher unions across the nation.
There is here.
Yeah.
Here in Iowa, there's basically the governor's pushing for everybody to be open full.
yeah.
She's trying to push for everybody to be open.
You guys don't even have a mask mandate anymore, do you, up there?
No, I don't know if she ever actually did fully do a mask mandate. She was very much urging people to wear masks, especially inside. I don't think she ever mandated mask wear.
South Dakota too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're
we're
probably gonna
open.
be-
Our kids are in school, we're going to restaurants, our theaters are open, our salons are open, the bars are open.
My husband got his first haircut, real haircut. He's been having what I call the DIY wife haircut.
Yeah.
So I've been giving him, and he's been
Yeah.
very sweet about it. I said, I would do it, but you better promise me that you will not complain. You're asking me to do it. You better be happy about it. And he has been, even though by the third time that was the worst one, but he went and got his hair totally cut now. So just today, so I'm like, wow.
Keep it short, simple. No
We still have limitations on how many people can be in a restaurant and,
Yeah, we
and
still
things
And
like
for-
that.
Yeah, that went up for us. We went from 25 to 35%.
Yep.
Then as James and I were just chatting back and forth, indoor events that are seat 5,000 or more, you could have 10% in.
Yeah.
And then if it's outdoors, same thing, 5,000 people or more, it's 15%.
I was gonna say,
Uh,
we, there at the Coliseum for the basketball games, the first few games, we didn't let anybody in.
Right.
Then I think they let 1,000 of the donors in for one game. I think they're up to 12 or 1,500 now. I know for football, when things back in football season, I think the first 3 games, we had nobody in the stadium, seats 65,000, and we piped in crowd noise, which was surreal at best. Then they finally let just a few thousand, maybe 2,000 in for the last football game. So I know at the doctor's office, they've got bullseyes where you're not allowed to sit,
mhm.
and things like that. So you have to be away from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, going with what Tim said, for a while they just lifted it, but youth sports for indoor, you can only have one parent with you. Now
Mhm.
they're allowing
Oh
both.
gosh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that
Well,
would
yeah,
be dreadful.
we didn't have indoor sports either. They had stopped that entirely for
For a while,
about a
yeah.
month, like a month or two, like
Yeah.
so. And now that's back.
Well,
So
I've been taking up a sport, which was, that's been fun.
yeah, choking people out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do not make her mad.
No,
She'll
You're
stare
cursing-
at you and then
cursing
choke
me.
you.
That's the real story about the haircut was he didn't have a choice.
Right.
You're looking shaggy. Get over here.
Or I'll choke you out.
he wasn't awake during his
He
haircut.
wasn't
That's right.
awake.
He wasn't awake.
I was surprised to learn that was a real thing. Like you stick because we were practicing with each other. And so my
Carotid
partner,
artery, isn't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, and he squeezed it. I'm like, oh, I feel that. I'm like, oh, you got it. You did it right. And then I got to do it on him.
That
and
was
he's like,
right when
"Ah,
your
you did it
toes
right."
went like this. Before the rest of you went like that.
Well,
I can
according to the
admit I've been
sensei,
on the receiving end of that a couple times.
have you?
Nope.
Yeah. I was like, I thought that was just in the movies, but no, it's a thing. I'm like, wow, I'm
The thing,
That's
and
dangerous.
if you don't do it right, you could end up killing someone. if
And
you
next
do it
week,
wrong.
kids, we're going to gouge each other's eyes out.
Yeah.
But if necessary,
Yeah.
So
if
we're gonna have a wrestle. So
necessary, and you
so we
do
should have a
have to
wrestle.
Hey, Mo, pick
Mo,
two.
hold on.
Wink.
Tim, you're losing it. You're losing it.
Yeah, I know. Because I was gonna say we're gonna have a WrestleMania episode. Is really what it's gonna boil it down to. That's in April, so we got some time to get to that. So
is that a kitty or a doggy?
Right.
Yeah,
That's
oh.
okay.
that's a kitty.
Kitty.
Yeah.
She was kicking
Uh,
the door in. I just said, okay, I'm just gonna go get her.
But that's to say that sports will work themselves out. I mean, when you have these like 100,000 people stadiums, I don't even know what that's about, but like people finding ways to do what they got to
Mhm.
do, they'll find
Yeah.
it.
Well,
Oh,
It's the-
it's funny that you say that because I was working one weekend here. It's been about a month ago. The wrestling match there at WVU. I'd never seen wrestling before. I mean, never have. But
Mm.
here's all these sweaty guys, and they get down there and they're hugging on each other, and I'm like, well, yeah, I'm sure that's social distanced well, and this sort of stuff. And then to me, the first time somebody did that, it's no longer wrestling to me. It's a fist fight because I don't want to be touched like that. It was rather intimate, I thought.
Bad touch. Bad touch.
Yeah, I'm gonna say,
I need an adult. I need an adult.
I'm tapped out.
Not your thing. You more like chess. Chess will work for
That's
Spencer.
right. I want my, what is it? I have to have my, not safe space, but what is it? So I want to be distanced.
Oh,
Personal,
yes.
your personal.
Personal bubble. It's personal space. Yeah. You gotta need a safe word. So yeah, I mean geez. So yeah, I think we still have a long road ahead of us is really what this is boiled down to. There's gonna be some things that we're gonna see differently. It's as much as like CEOs, like the CEO of Goldman Sachs is saying that they're going back. Like I saw that on Twitter, and
I was on there today.
yeah, he came out and said all of our people are going back in the building. So it's like, okay, it's like, so it's going to be a culture thing. per corporation, per university, you know, that's so
I've
it's
said it from the beginning that it takes the right corporate culture, it takes the right people to be working
Mhm.
from home successfully. And there's just some positions that can work remotely well, and some have to physically be in the building. Like
Mhm.
your dock guy whose job it is to receive packages, he can't do that from home. He has to be in the office.
right. So it's gonna be a matter of adjustment, and
Physical material is so annoying.
well, it keeps those guys employed. So it's
Right.
but that's the thing. But those of us in the AV industry, we deal with physical material. So yeah, we need those guys
For
to help
now.
support us. So for now, yes.
We
for
deal
now.
with it, so most people don't have to. They can walk into a room with nothing and have a meeting from 4 different countries and then walk out with nothing.
Yeah, and they don't have to touch anything either if
I
we do our
know.
job right, or minimally.
They go, ew,
Cloud-based
Right.
service,
recognize me.
Sorry, what was that, Renee?
cloud-based services.
Yep.
Mhm.
hmm
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is again a great conversation. We
It was fun.
really, yeah, this is good. So, and I feel like this wasn't our typical COVID conversation. So I'm very happy with the fact that we were successful and that it wasn't just another COVID conversation. Which
We
actually I
seem to
might
get
change.
off track very easily.
Yeah,
We're
but
very
that's
good.
okay. We always
Squirrels.
come back. So
We do.
it's
We're very
but it's I think this is actually I think that might be the title of this episode, is like not your typical COVID conversation or something like that.
Yeah.
So I'll have to wordsmith it a little bit, and then we'll see. Hey, Aaron, thank you for joining us tonight. We've killed a couple hours for you down there in your hotel room. So
Thanks for having me back. I really enjoyed it, and let me know if you ever need another guest again.
we will definitely do that. Thank you to the crew as always. And look for some fun things coming up this month. I'll have to you'll see my little write-up also. So when you've clicked on the episode to listen to it, if you didn't go already, just go and read my little blurb that'll be at the top of the page for what else is coming up this month. And until our next adventure.
Bye.
Bye.